Welcome back to Bubble AI. Alex Luxsport Weber here, and welcome to a very special edition of Luxembourg's favorite sports rundown. Today we're taking a journey through time, diving into the history of sports in our beautiful country, with a big spotlight on football and basketball. If you grew up on muddy pitches, tiny gymnasiums, or those unforgettable derby nights, this episode is for you. Sit back, relax, and let's get right into it. Let's kick things off with the sport that has shaped generations here, football. Luxembourg's football story started more than a century ago, back when clubs were more passion projects than professional structures. One of the very first clubs, Fola Esch, popped up in 1906, and to this day they proudly carry the identity of one of the oldest football institutions in the country. Soon after, more teams emerged across the nation. And by 1908, the Football Federation was officially founded. That moment lit the spark for organized leagues, real rivalries, and a community built around the sport. As time rolled on, the league that we now call the BGL League became the beating heart of Luxembourgish football. It grew, evolved, modernized. If you look back, Jeunesse Esch absolutely ruled the early and mid-20th century. With 28 league titles, they weren't just a successful team, they were a legacy, a dynasty, the club everyone wanted to beat. And as football changed, other teams rose to the challenge. Dudelange became the powerhouse of the modern era, while Differdange, Fola, Racing, Hesperang each added their own chapters to the story. Of course, no football history lesson is complete without our national team, the Red Lions. For decades, Luxembourg were the underdogs, always fighting giants on the international stage. But even underdogs have their moments. Shocking wins, unforgettable draws, and heroic performances created a special identity. And then, in the last decade, things began to shift. Higher FIFA rankings, more players moving abroad, players developing in top academies. Suddenly Luxembourg wasn't just participating, we were competing. The national team became more organized, more technical, more confident. And those famous nights when we beat stronger nations? You could feel the pride from Clairvaux to Mondorf. Playing style evolved too. Old school Luxembourgish football was all about grit, long balls and fighting spirit. Today's version? High pressing, organized build-up, intelligent positioning. The influence of modern European football is everywhere. Clubs are tracking data, using tactical analysis, and building stronger youth academies. Trust me, if old-school defenders from the 1970s watched today's midfield pressing stats, they'd think it was science fiction. And what is football without rivalries? Esch derbies were, and still are, absolutely electric. Dudelange versus Differdange always delivers drama. And in the last few years, Hesperang has entered the scene as a modern force, shaking up the established order. Fans fill the stands, communities rally around their clubs, and every match day feels like a cultural celebration. But one moment stands above many others, Dudelange reaching the Europa League group stage. Not once, twice, a Luxembourgish team competing on European nights, scoring goals, facing big clubs, representing us on the international stage. It was something special, a turning point for how Europe saw us and how we saw ourselves. The success didn't come from luck. It came from discipline, investment, and a generation of talents who believed they could push boundaries. And that belief still fuels Luxembourg football today. Now let's switch gears and hit the basketball courts. Luxembourg's basketball history began developing in the mid-20th century, especially through schools and the army, which helped spread the sport. By the 1950s, clubs like Amikale, Sparta, and Etzella had already formed strong identities, building fan bases, and shaping what would later become the Total League. The Total League rose as the main competitive stage, showcasing the best basketball teams the country had to offer. Each era had its kings. Amical dominating modern years at certain points, T71 always in the mix, Sparta showing consistency, and Etzella becoming the club with the most titles overall. Etzella built a culture on youth development, smart recruiting, and a devoted community, a recipe for long-term success. The style of play changed massively over time. Back in the day, the tempo was slower, more physical, less three-point oriented. Today, faster transitions, spacing, shooting, athleticism. Luxembourg basketball mirrors the evolution happening across Europe. The arrival of imports, especially American players, had a huge impact on raising the level of competition, introducing new styles, and pushing local players to improve. Some of these players became legends in their clubs, leaving marks that fans still remember. Basketball games in Luxembourg delivered some incredible moments, especially during playoff runs. Amical over to T71, Etzella versus Sparta. The gyms were full, the atmosphere was loud, kids were mimicking players' moves at halftime. These games weren't just matches, they were events. Our national basketball teams have also shown heart and resilience. Competing internationally is tough for a small nation, but Luxembourg players always brought intensity, pride, and strong team spirit. Youth teams performed well in European competitions, and more players than ever are now making moves abroad, whether in college programs or professional leagues. That's a sign of the sport's development and potential. Modern Luxembourg basketball focuses heavily on youth development, advanced coaching methods, and analytics. And clubs track shooting efficiency, spacing percentages, and lineup strengths. Facilities have improved. Coaches specialize earlier. Young players are more skilled than ever before. And you can feel that the next generation might become the strongest Luxembourg has produced. One question I always get is, Alex, who's the most influential Luxembourg footballer ever? And honestly, there's no easy answer. Jeff Strasser is a giant of the game, playing in Germany at the highest level, representing Luxembourg with pride. Laurent Jean brought leadership and professionalism. David Turpel was a goal-scoring machine. And today we have a whole new wave of players putting Luxembourg on the map. Influence depends on the era, but together they shape the identity of football in this country. For me, Dudelange reaching the Europa League group stage stands out. The entire continent noticed us. But I'll never forget the national team's victories and heroic performances in the 2010s. Those nights felt like the whole country was celebrating together. Let's jump into a quick-fire history blast. Rapid facts, no time to breathe. Oldest football club? Fola Esch, 1906. Most Football League titles? Jeunesse Esch with 28. Biggest modern football shock? Luxembourg defeating Greece. Basketball team with the most titles? Etzella Ettelbruck. Most iconic modern basketball scorer? Plenty of imports, but homegrown legends left their mark too. Fastest rising modern basketball club? Sparta had big waves in recent seasons. And that's your rapid-fire history capsule. From muddy football pitches to packed basketball gyms, from early pioneers to modern talents, Luxembourg's sports history is rich, emotional, and full of passion. Every generation has added something, a story, a rivalry, a hero, a breakthrough moment. The next chapters of our sports history are being written right now, in youth leagues, local clubs, international matches, and every training session where young athletes dream big. Don't forget to support your local clubs this weekend. Follow us for updates and send in your own sports memories. I love hearing your stories. This is Alex Luxsport Weber from Babel AI. Stay sporty, stay proud, stay Luxembourg.